Welcome to Mortgage Agility Validator Training. My name is Sarah Hushin, and for those of you who have not met me, I am the Industry Solutions Architect with Lexmark, formerly Kofax, and I come to you with nearly 2 decades in all aspects of the mortgage industry. Today we're going to take a look at validation and what it means to be a validator. We're going to start by looking at the work queue, the controls, what it means to classify a document. We're going to look at one of each of these documents to review how to do a review on one of these documents, and we're going to talk about when the docs and the data get pushed to the LOS. So you start with logging into Mortgage Agility with your assigned login and password. Validator's primary job is to verify that the data extracted or lifted from the documents is accurately extracted and entered into the system, as well as making sure the system correctly identified the type of document, which we call classification. Here you can see some documents that are waiting to be validated, and in some cases you'll see some classification review on the work queue. You can see who the document is assigned to. Typically you'll only see documents assigned to yourself. You can see the borrower's name and the loan number, and you can see the due date for the item. There's also these little red dots that say Activity SLA. SLA stands for Service Level Agreement. Currently these are all red because they are past due, because these are test items that were assigned, you can see, back in July and August, and today is mid-September, so these items are definitely far overdue. If items had just been assigned today, and if I were to create a new loan, you would actually see some of these SLAs be in green, and you'll have to talk with your manager or supervisor to determine what the service level agreement is for each document, how long you're going to have to complete each task. So we're starting with a driver's license. Here you can see the fields that were extracted, as well as the photo of the license, and when I move the photo you can see there's one field that has a problem. We'll bring the picture back, and you can see that the field is highlighted on the photo, so you don't have to go searching for the field to match it to the extracted information. You can see when I move it to Laura, it highlights her name, and notice that the highlight is now in green because it's confident that this field is correct. If we switch down to the address, you can see that it moves the highlighting. So you're not having to scroll through large documents field by field. It's showing you exactly where it took the information out of the document so that you can verify that the information that came out of that spot in the document is the correct information that is being entered into the system. It is important to know where the system is pulling information from the document. So if there's 3 different validators and you have to train the system, you're able to pick the same field from the same document every time so that the system learns correctly. Here you can see that the system is confident in what it extracted, but it's giving you a warning message that this driver's license is expired. Now looking at the controls, you can see this lightning bolt is a force valid, which means accept the field. This other one is next invalid field. You have the option to delete a page or reject a page. You can delete an entire document before it gets to the LOS if your lender allows. You can reject a document, which just means you've found something wrong with it. You can complete the activity which says I'm done with this task, or you can cancel the activity which will put it back into the work queue. When you've completed a document, it confirms with you, are you sure that you want to complete this document? So you want to make sure all the fields are valid prior to completing a task or activity. And when it's complete and it asks you, are you sure you want to complete this? You would then say yes and move on. And that will take you back to the work queue. Upon returning to the work queue, you can see that the driver's license has now been completed and disappeared from the list. And now we're going to move on and look at a bank statement. So here you can see we've got the bank name. You can see the field that that's coming from, and it's green, it's fairly certain. The starting date. Now because it's not sure where this field is, you have to locate the starting date on the bank statement, and you're going to do what we call lasso, which is highlight the starting date and it will fill it into the field for you. And you fill in the ending date with the lasso, and it will fill in the ending date. Now you do still have to validate those fields by hitting enter or by clicking the lightning bolt to show that those fields are correct. Next, you can see the address, and it's uncertain about the field extraction, so you just compare it to the field, and if it looks good, you hit enter, or you can click the lightning bolt, and you can see that I was using the next invalid field to kind of jump between them. But once I'm confident, then I'm able to validate the field. And you can also see that you're able to zoom in on the document like I just did. Next, we're going to go to what we call a table within the validation. And it's not certain about the name of one of the accounts. There's 2 accounts on this statement, and you can see that it recognizes the savings account. Oh, and by mistake, I clicked on paycheck, and it actually put that word in there. But it recognizes the savings account, but it's not recognizing the checking account. So we need to find the area in the document where the checking account starts. And it's not primary account number, so we're still looking. It's not goal savings. We know it recognizes goal savings over here. So we're looking for something like that for the other account. So we'll keep going. And if you look at the bottom, you can see at the bottom of this page, there's pages, so we can click on a page to bring up a different page. And there's what we're looking for, Wells Fargo way to save checking. So we're going to highlight that. And you can see it had an area that it was trying to highlight. So that accepted, and now it's moved on, and it's actually identifying large deposits. Today, large deposits are defined as anything over 500, but you as a lender can define something different. It asks if there's anything that needs to be done with each deposit, and it's actually identifying large transactions because of the way the system works. We can not only identify large deposits, but we can identify large transactions. So you're looking here again to make sure that the extraction is correct. You can choose yes or no if there's something that needs to be done. And if you were to choose yes, then it would send it to the processor and there would be some rule that tells what to do. And in this case, you can see that the system picked an ending balance. Okay, so you can either validate it and leave it, or with withdrawals or ending balance, you can actually highlight the entire line or row like you would in a spreadsheet, and you can delete. Now you can see some extra controls just popped up. You can delete the row, which gets rid of the entire row. Here we have another one. This one is also ending balance, so we're going to click on the far area and delete the entire row. Now, if instructed and if agreed upon at your own company, you can go ahead and delete withdrawals, or you may choose to leave them there and allow the processors to see both deposits and withdrawals. But I'm certain most lenders would not want to keep an ending balance as a transaction because that's inaccurate, so you would go ahead and delete the ones that are incorrect. Now the system is intuitive, and on some documents it will employ learning, which means that as you lasso things, the more and more documents you do and the further you get into using the system will recognize where to pull the information from. But in the beginning, you may do some of the same reviews and you may be showing the system specifically where to find things, which is why it's important that all validators are locating information on a document in the same place. You can see the bank statement is complete, and now we're moving on, and we're going to look at what it means to classify. We're going to do a classification review. And again, classification means the system is looking at the document and recognizing a pay stub as a pay stub or a W-2 as a W-2. And there's times where the system isn't certain. Maybe the document's just a little bit different than what the system is familiar with, and in this case it's a pay stub. It was called a pay stub by the person, the loan officer or the borrower who uploaded it. The system seems to think that it's a bank statement instead. So you're going to click the button that says override, and you can see we're looking at the controls. That button allows you to change it again, so there's multiple ways that you can change the classification of the document. So we're going to go ahead and find the control that says override the classification. And here's the override. So we're going to say we agree that this is a pay stub, and we're going to override the problem and move on. Now this document may move on to validation if necessary, or it may move on from there, but you can see that that document as a classification review document is now gone. You may still have to verify validation and check the information that's extracted from the document, because extraction does not happen until after classification is complete. So when the system is not certain about the classification of a document, that means extraction of the information has not happened yet. So now we're looking at classification of a W-2. The system is uncertain that it is in fact a W-2. We're going to take a look at the document and say we agree this is a W-2, and we're going to override the problem. It happens really quickly, which is the idea. We only want you to spend the necessary amount of time reviewing documents. These should be quick and relatively easy to review. So next we're looking at a pay stub. So you can see that the extraction is uncertain about the name of the company. You can see where it's coming from, verify that it looks good. Go ahead and hit enter or click the bullet or the bolt. I noticed an error in the address, and when we make the correction, you just look at the field and make sure it's accurate. Now, period beginning, it doesn't know where to look, so you are going to have to scroll through the document on some cases to locate, again, in the beginning, and pay stubs is a trainable document, as is W-2s. So in the beginning, you're going to be showing the system where to locate this information, and this is not a trained pay stub format, which is why the system doesn't know where to find the period beginning and the period ending, so we're having to locate it. The system currently knows ADP and paychecks formats as the most common formats. So going forward, you're going to have to show the system on non-ADP and non-paychecks pay stubs where to locate this information. And the more of the same type of pay stub the system sees, the more often it will be certain about the extraction, and the more it will know where to find the information. So we're just lassoing the information in the area where it is. This one's a little bit difficult to work with, so we're highlighting it, but then I'm also having to edit the field to make sure it's correct. Make sure that you check the field, because the information in the field is the information that gets passed to the LOS. So we want to make sure that not only do we show the system where to find the information, but that the information that's pulled is the correct information. So next we're moving on to pay or income earnings. And you can see the area is called pay, and earnings is what we're looking for. So we're looking for current earnings. We're going to highlight where to find them. Then we're looking for year to date. So now we want to highlight year to date earnings. Again, you just lasso or highlight the area and hit enter or the lightning bolt to validate. And we're doing gross pay, which is still under earnings. So that's that bottom figure. Gross pay includes bonuses, overtime, any other amount, but it's the gross pay for this pay period. And then we have gross pay year to date, and I realized that when I did earnings, I actually captured the wrong field. So you're going to see I'm going to go back. This is the gross pay year to date, but my earnings year to date should be my current salary year to date. So I'm going to make a correction here. I'm going to put it at the field just above that, which is the year to date salary, and make that valid. And this particular pay stub doesn't look for or have hours, so you just go ahead and make that valid. Next, we're looking at taxes, federal income taxes. So we're going to show the system where to find the federal income tax. And you're looking first at current. So there's current. And then Social Security current. We always do current before year to date. Medicare current, under taxes and deductions. And then if there's a state income tax, some states have it, some don't. You go ahead and highlight that. And then state disability, and I'm unfamiliar with this pay stub. I don't know that there's a specific state disability, so I'm kind of looking at the pay stub. And there's something on here that might be state disability, but I'm not quite sure, so I'm going to go ahead and make that valid. If you're more familiar and I made a mistake, then you would obviously make it correct. We're still under the tax section, so now we're going from the current taxes to the year-to-date federal income taxes. So again, we're going to locate that on the pay stub. So year-to-date taxes, and I highlighted too much, so I'm going to delete it and do it again. Okay, now I'm highlighting Social Security, and I'm not entering the information. When I highlight it, it's entering it for me, in case you weren't aware. So I'm highlighting Medicare and year-to-date state income tax deductions. Okay, and then again, not so sure if there's state disability, if that figure over there, there was a total, but there wasn't a current, and again, because I'm not certain, I'm bypassing that. I don't see anything else that I'm looking for. Quite possibly that is the state year-to-date, but since I'm not certain, I'm going to leave it. Doesn't factor into our calculation, so that's okay. It's not hurting anything at this moment. Okay, and now we're completed with the pay stub. So now we're going to go on and look at validation of a W-2. So you can do something called undocking the W-2 or the document that you're looking at, and you can see I just clicked the little boxes. It brought the document up in full size. You're able to zoom in on the document, zoom out on the document, and if you want to put the document back, you just click on the little boxes and it will redock. That allows you to look at an entire document if you like, and then you can click again field to field and be able to see the information within the document. So now we're going to move on and look at a 1003. The system does have the ability to read and extract from a typed 1003 or loan application. And we won't go through every field because I think you've seen it on previous documents. You can see that this system extracted information from the fields in the 1003. There's some information that the system is certain about the extraction, and there's other information where the system is uncertain, and it's going to show you field by field so you can check the extraction. And again, you're just responsible for making sure that the information taken from this area in the document, whatever that document is accurately extracted with the correct information. You correct errors, and if information is missing, you may be showing the system where to find the information, and you just want to be consistent across all validators that the system is looking in the same place on every document for the information. You don't want to give it two different set of instructions because then the system will become confused and be looking in multiple places for the same information. So you want to be consistent with where you tell the system to find the information on the documents. We're skipping ahead to the REO section and the signatures, and you can see here the REO section is handled much like bank statements are handled. There is a table for this section, and you check the information from each box in the table. Make sure it's accurate, make corrections as necessary, or show the system where to find the information if it's unclear. And then it gives you an alert that this is a required field. The date and signature on a 1003 are required. If they are missing, the system alerts you so that you can alert the processors downstream that there are missing signatures on the application. In summary, you have viewed the work queue and what it means to have the service level agreements. You'll have to check again with your team to determine what those timeframes are for each document. We've looked at the controls, which include rejecting a document, completing a task, canceling a task, overriding classification, as well as force validating. You've seen how you can undock a document so that you can get a look at the whole document, and how you can redock a document. And you've also seen how you can lasso or highlight information to show the system where to find the information on a particular document. We've reviewed information on driver's license, bank statements, pay stubs, W-2s, and we will have a future training on validation of purchase contracts. The documents and the data will be pushed to the LOS upon completion of validation. So it is important to get validation done as soon as possible. That way the data and the documents can be pushed to the LOS. If validation is not complete within 24 hours, the data and the documents will be pushed to the LOS at the end of 24 hours without validation. This is implemented, and the time frame can be changed, but it is implemented to protect the time frame of RESPA in the event that RESPA has been kicked off by collecting the 6 pieces of required information. Thank you for your time. We will now open it up for questions.